Hey guys, Jake here. Welcome to day 2 of WayBetter Yoga. So for today's practice, I would recommend having yoga blocks if you do have them. If not, a thick textbook could work, or just don't worry about it. I'm also going to be using a nice thick folded blanket, or a folded towel could work too. So we're going to go ahead and take a seat in between our shins. So make sure the muscles of your calves are a little bit out of the way. And I'm going to use this blanket here to elevate my seat because a lot of us might feel kind of tight here in the knees, and by sitting up on something, you can also use yoga blocks. You'll have a little bit more space to breathe and grow tall. So right from here, start to grow tall from your sit bones all the way through the crown of your head. So our first class, we started to introduce some of the concepts of yoga, like syncing up your movements with your breath. So all of that still holds true for today. So always breathing, finding that ujjayi breath right now. So that's where we breathe in deep through our nose. And then breathe out slowly, also through our nose, as if we are trying to fog up a mirror in front of us. And if the nose isn't working, if you have a stuffy nose or something like that, then just breathe through your mouth. That's totally fine. So today's practice, we're going to be working through some more of the foundational yoga poses, focusing on alignment and finding some modifications to do what feels good. And I want to challenge you right now to try to see this experience not as a workout, a system to burn calories, or necessarily to get stronger. While those benefits may happen, the intention of this yoga practice should be to take time for yourself, to connect with yourself, to get to know your body in a little bit more of an intimate way, so we can protect our bodies and our minds over the long term. So with that, I invite you to set an intention, perhaps to treat yourself with kindness, to listen, to adapt. So we're going to go ahead and start to open the knees up a little bit wider and start to walk the hands forward, finding our way into our child's pose. So forehead resting down on the ground, and start to roll the head just very gently from side to side, starting to massage out the muscles of the forehead, relaxing those muscles, relaxing the jaw, breathing here. We're going to inhale and come forward onto hands and knees. Walk the hands over towards the left, and then push your hips right back down to the space in between your heels. Feeling the stretch along the right side of the body, maybe the right armpit. Inhale, come forward and walk the hands over to the left. Exhale, sit back down. Inhale, come back up, walk the hands back to the middle. Maybe move that towel or blanket out of the way if it's still there. Perhaps putting it underneath your knees, finding some padding for your knees if you know that feels good for you. And we're going to go right into our cat-cow. So we're going to inhale and look forward as the spine drops down. We're arching the back, pressing the feet down. Exhale, push the ground away. Start to gaze in between your knees. Inhale, look forward, cow pose. Exhale, round the spine, push the ground away, cat pose. Go through a couple more cycles of this with your own breath. I start pretty much every yoga practice with a cat-cow. It's a really great way to build some awareness of our spine, to warm up the spine and the shoulders and the hips, and to really start to sync up our movement with our breath. It's a really good check-in just to see, how am I doing today? You know, do I feel stiff? Do I feel loose? Is my mind in the right place? what can I do to feel a little more ready? Maybe taking a few circles in your cat-cow, making it a little more creative, circling in one direction, and then in the other. Finding your way back to neutral. We're going to try tucking the toes under and try pressing your hips back towards your heels. Now with your toes tucked under, beginning to feel a stretch to the bottoms of your feet. So what we're going to be working towards first is downward facing dog. One of the most common yoga poses, but it's also very easy to not really do it right. So we want to find ways that we can do poses that are safe and that are intentional and that we're aware of our alignment. And modifying as needed. So continue pushing back and forth onto the balls of your feet. And go ahead and come back to neutral. We're going to extend our right leg back, lifting it up a little bit, spreading the toes as wide as we can, trying to get the pinky toe far away from the big toe. And with the toes still spread out, gently place the toes down on the ground, the heel pointing up to the sky. Make sure your fingers are spread nice and wide too. And start to push back gently into that right calf, finding a stretch there. Inhale, pull your weight forward through your fingertips. Start to push through the toes. Exhale, stretch and push your weight slightly back. This is a very subtle movement. We're only moving forward a couple inches and then back a couple inches. But we're starting to open up that calf on the right side. We'll need to have a nice open calf if we're going to approach downward dog, because it requires a lot of flexibility. Go ahead and put your right leg back, stretch out your left leg behind you, spread your left toes real wide, trying to get your pinky toe away from your big toe, and then place your toes stretched out as wide as you can. Inhale and exhale, push back into your calf. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, stretch. Making sure the toes are pointing forward towards you and the heel is pointing up towards the sky. And go ahead and put your knee back next to your right knee and tuck onto both toes. And thinking about your sit bones here, so those same bones that you sit on in the beginning of class, pretending like there's strings tied to them, and someone is going to be pulling you up diagonally from your sit bones. So start to push your hip bones, your sit bones up. Perhaps you need to walk your feet back a little bit. Keeping a nice, generous bend in your knees and keeping your heels up. Perhaps your chest, your rib cage is against your thighs. So this is a down dog, slightly modified because we have the knees very bent and the heels lifted. But what I want to focus on now is pushing the ground away with the hands to try to create length in the spine. Try not to look at your computer screen here, so try to really keep your gaze in between your knees, keeping the back of the neck long, creating some length down the sides of your body. Now from here, if you feel like you have a nice straight back, you can start to pedal out the feet a little bit, letting one heel get closer to the ground and then the other. Finding what feels good, making sure the fingers are spread wide, insides of the elbows are pointing towards each other. Really pushing the ground away. Start to find some stillness. Maybe you keep the knees generously bent and the heels up. Or if you're feeling like you have enough flexibility to lower the heels to the ground while still keeping the integrity of a nice long spine, then go ahead and let the heels drop. Inhale, exhale. The intention of this pose is not to get the heels on the ground, but rather to sustain a nice long spine, creating as much length and support as you can. So go ahead and start to slowly walk the feet up towards the hands, towards the front of the mat. And we'll find our forward fold. So do what feels good here. Maybe you let the elbows rest on the thighs, giving the hands a little break. Let's all do that actually. So go ahead and let your elbows rest on your thighs and start to roll your wrists in circles. So I have a loose fist formed on both hands, and I'm rolling my wrists around each other. And then go ahead and switch directions with that. And then find your forward fold once more, either keeping your arms where they are, or maybe grabbing for opposite elbows and folding over your thighs, keeping a little bend in your knees, especially if you have very tight hamstrings. You can also bring blocks under your hands. If you have any issues with the discs in your back or any bone density issues, you'll want to keep your spine nice and long. So considering turning the blocks on their highest setting and keeping the gaze slightly forward, or just staying with your hands on your elbows on your thighs. We'll go ahead and start to slowly roll up to a standing position, circle sweeping the arms up to touch. And then lowering the arms down by your sides, finding our mountain pose. So we're gonna go through a couple of the standing poses, the lunges and the warriors, so we can start to build some familiarity with the terminology and starting to feel how these postures feel in our body. So we'll go ahead and take a big step back with the right foot, staying up on the ball of that foot, kind of like when we were stretching our calf behind us. So the left knee is bent and the right knee is straight. So place your hand on your right glute, your right butt muscle, and make sure that that is on. Make sure you're actively pushing back with your right knee, trying to get that right knee nice and straight. And place your fingertips on the fronts of your hips, these bony prominences that are in the front of your pelvis. And in your lunge position, they should be facing forward. So that's a good way to check our alignment, to make sure we're being intentional with our alignment. From here, you can circle sweep your arms up, fingertips to ceiling, or if that bothers your shoulders at all, you can keep your hands at heart center or hands on the hips. And throughout all of these standing poses, take breaks as needed. You know, my leg is already starting to burn a little bit here. But we're gonna try to find our nice deep breath in each pose. But if your body is telling you to take a break, then please take a break. Modifying the high lunge, you can also step the leg farther back to make it a little more challenging. You can step it a little closer to make it a little more easeful. You can step your feet a little bit wider apart from each other to find some more stability. Now, moving from a high lunge to a warrior one. So the front leg is going to stay the same. Keep the hands on the hips for now, and go ahead and let the back foot down. So now the back foot is flat on the ground, but the toes are pointing out to about 2 o'clock. So left toes are pointing towards 12 o'clock, straight forward, and right toes are slightly out. The hips are still pointing relatively towards the front of the mat. We can step our feet wider apart to find some more stability. And you can also play with how far back that back leg is, that back foot. So stepping it closer will make it a little easier. Stepping it farther back will make it a little more difficult. And if it feels okay on your shoulders, you can lift your hands up to the sky. Keeping your spine nice and long here. From our warrior one, we're gonna blossom open to our warrior two. So with warrior two, the arms come down. I like to step the back foot a little farther back. And now the hips are open to the side. So warrior one, hips are forward. Warrior two, you open that right leg out. So now the right toes are pointing pretty much directly to the right side of the mat. Front knee is bent. You can straighten it a little bit to make it easier. And you can bend it deeper and step the back leg farther back to make it more challenging. Reach the arms out, the left arm pointing towards the front of the mat, the right arm pointing towards the back of the mat, and try to spread your fingers apart from each other, like someone's playing a tug-of-war game with you, very gently. If it feels okay on your neck, you can turn your chin towards your left hand, or you can keep your gaze towards the side of your mat. Either way. We're gonna inhale, and then turn the left hand up, and exhale. Reach the left arm to the sky as the right hand goes down the right thigh towards the right calf, creating some length in the left side of our body. This is our peaceful warrior is what it's called. Inhale here. As we exhale, we're gonna hinge our torso forward, finding our left thigh with our left forearm, and then reaching our right arm up and over our right ear, extended side angle. So we wanna find a nice strong line of energy all the way from the pinky toe side of our right foot, which is firmly pressing into the ground, all the way to our right, the tips of our right fingertips. The tips of our fingertips. And then go ahead and just create length here down the right side of your body. On the next inhale, we're gonna reach up and over, back to our peaceful warrior, gazing up towards the inside of the left elbow. And as we exhale, we're gonna straighten out the left leg and start to reach forward with the left hand. And this is when I should have told you to have a block. So have a block down on the inside of your left foot, perhaps a medium or tall setting, and let your left hand find that block. You can also, if you don't have a block, your left hand can find your left shin. This is our triangle pose, Trikonasana. So the right hand is pulling up towards the ceiling. We're grounding through the outside, the pinky toe side of the right foot. And we're not dumping too much weight into this bottom hand, so we're keeping very strong through the hips and the torso so we can maintain this pose while keeping some length down the spine. We're gonna inhale and bend the front knee. Left hand comes up and over, peaceful warrior. Exhale. We're gonna cartwheel the hands down to the ground on either side of the left foot, finding our low lunge position. So from here, we're gonna step back to our downward facing dog. Hips go up and back. And then start to walk forward towards the front of your mat once more. Inhale, stand up, circle sweep your arms up to the sky. Exhale, arms by your side. So now we're just gonna find those poses on the other side. So we're gonna take a big step back with the left foot, grounding through the ball of that left foot, circle sweeping the arms up, creating length down the spine as you actively engage that back leg, turning on that left glute, the left thigh. Inhale here. On your next exhale, we're gonna open up to Warrior One. And with your Warrior One, making sure you're grounding through that back leg, finding any modifications that feel good. So whether that's stepping your feet wider from each other, or stepping the back foot farther back or farther forward, keeping the hands on the hips or in heart center. Just make sure you're able to connect that Ujjayi breath, that sense of calm, stability, and ease, but also strength and length. We're gonna open up to our Warrior Two. So with that, my back foot goes a little farther back, my hips open up to the left side of the mat. Right toes are pointing straight forward, left toes are pointing towards the left side of the mat. Staying very strong through both legs and reaching the arms apart from each other if that feels okay on the shoulders. Maybe try turning both palms, rotating the arms to turn both palms up to the ceiling if that feels better on the shoulders. And finding an energetic pull of the heels towards each other. So without actually lifting up your feet, try to pretend like your feet are magnetically attracted to each other and find a little bit of a pull, which will give you a little bit more structural support. We're gonna inhale and reach the right arm up and over as we lean back, holding on to our left thigh with our left hand. Exhale, hinge forward and find the right thigh with the right forearm and reach up and over the left ear with the left arm, finding length through the left fingertips, grounding through the outside of the left foot, our extended side angle. Inhale, reach up and back, peaceful warrior. Exhale, triangle pose. Straighten the right leg and start to reach forward as far as you can with the right arm. Eventually, finding the ground, finding a block, or finding the right shin with the right hands. Wherever you are, make sure you feel supported. You feel like you're not dumping your weight down into your arms. Finding that magnetic pull of your feet towards each other. If this is bothering the neck, then keep the gaze down. Otherwise, you can turn the gaze up to look at the top hand. Inhale, stand back up, peaceful warrior. Lift the right arm up and over. Exhale, low lunge. Finding that pivot on the back foot. So now the back heel is up and both hands are down on the ground. And go ahead and step back and lower down slowly onto your stomach. We're gonna walk the forearms in front of us now. So fingers spread wide, pressing the feet into the ground and pull your chest through like you're trying to get your chest to point towards the front of the room. The face, the gaze is pointing towards the front of the room. This is our Sphinx pose. As we inhale, we're going to start to work the right arm underneath the left arm and start to crawl the left arm forward. Eventually, both arms are straight, and we're putting our weight down onto our right shoulder, reaching through the right fingertips, making sure the right palm is up towards the ceiling, finding a good stretch through that right shoulder. You can walk the left fingertips farther out if that feels okay. This is our thread the needle stretch. Inhale, exhale. Start to crawl back into our Sphinx pose, and we'll move the left arm underneath the right arm, reaching the left fingertips through and crawling the right arm forward, finding a stretch through the left shoulder. And from here, find a creative way to turn onto your back. So whatever feels good, find your way onto your back. And then bend both knees. Maybe you can touch your heels with your fingertips here. But feet are about hip distance apart, so about 6 inches apart. And start to push through your feet slowly to lift your hips up into a bridge. Maybe you're pressing your hands down into the mat, pressing your arms down. Activating those glutes, the butt muscles, keeping the back of the neck long. Maybe gaze is towards the belly button. If it feels okay on your shoulders, maybe interlace your fingers under your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and find some more support through your triceps. If not, then just keep your arms down. Find your breath here. As you exhale, slowly lower back down, trying to lower one vertebrae at a time, feeling your mid-back lower down, and then your lower back, find the mat, and then finally your sacrum. Inhale here. Exhale, pull both knees into your chest. Give yourself a big hug. Thank yourself for being here and taking care of your body. Exhale, extend your legs long, extend your arms long. And start to settle in to your Savasana. Reconnecting with your breath. Trying to keep your focus on your breath, how it feels in your body for the next minute or so. Slowing down your breath, not rushing through it. When you're rushing your breath, you're also rushing through your life. It's important to slow down, notice, and just be here in the present. Not worrying about what's next. But feeling some gratitude to just be here and to have been able to move and breathe and do and feel and just take care of yourself. And taking your time with your transition or staying in Savasana for as long as you are able to, which I highly recommend. Or maybe you start to slowly wiggle your fingers and your toes, keeping your eyes closed. Find a way to gracefully turn onto one side and then press yourself up into a sitting position. I want to thank you for sharing your practice with me today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.